Have you ever created a survey to gather feedback from your customers, your employees, your members? Have you ever created an evaluation form to gather feedback at a live event or an online course or a conference? If I walked into your office right now and said, hey, can I see that survey that you just distributed? Or can I see that evaluation form you're working on? What would you say? Would you say, well, here you go, Doc. We are so proud of this effort. We're asking all the right questions in the right way. The instructions are so engaging that they draw people in. We get huge response rates. The comment boxes are written in such a way as to gather meaningful, deep, honest, relevant feedback. The results are crystal clear. We know exactly what people are saying based on their responses, and we can take action. And the surveys are so engaging that people want to respond again and again. Well, if you can't say that, that's a problem. There's something wrong with your items, your response scales, the wording, the instructions, because you should have that kind of confidence. You and your team have spent a lot of time on this survey. You should have that kind of confidence. But here's the more typical response I get. I'll ask for somebody's survey and they'll say, well, we thought this was a great survey, but we didn't get the responses we thought we'd get. Or here's our survey, but it's kind of in a draft form. We know it needs a little bit of work. And those are the problems I solve. For 20 years now, I've reviewed and critiqued more than 6,000 surveys at literally every type of organization: colleges and universities, training organizations, conference and trade shows, everything from huge Fortune 500 companies down to little small private schools. Everywhere that people are trying to gather feedback from their members, their students, instructors, parents, customers, employees, to get that feedback so that they can make improvements and make the right decisions and take action. But let me let you in on a little secret. Out of all those 6,000 surveys that I've reviewed over hundreds of organizations, over dozens of countries, they all make the same errors. Every survey is unique, but they all have the same problem. So much so that over the years I've created a 30-item checklist. It's my 30 criteria that every survey must have in order for you to have that confidence to hand over your survey. Most surveys don't have all those criteria, and that's why they don't work. That's it. That's the secret. If you satisfy all 30 criteria, you'll have that confidence that your survey will gather the most accurate feedback. So what I'd like to do for you and your team is have you take a couple of minutes today, send me your survey, send me your evaluation form in whatever form it's in, online or paper. I will take it and compare it with these 30 criteria, show you which ones you've addressed, which ones you haven't. So now you can see that gap, what needs to be bridged to take it from here up to the ideal survey. And while I have your survey, I'll compare it to the 9 principles of feedback. And for those of you that know me, I've talked for years about the 9 principles. It's based on my own theory and my own research. It's been validated in hundreds of organizations. The principles simply state why people will look at your survey and fill it out or ignore it. It says the principles state why somebody will give you deep, rich, meaningful feedback or give you just some vague comments. You have to satisfy all 9 principles, but most surveys and survey processes only satisfy 2 or 3, and that's why they don't work. So I'll compare your survey with the 9 principles, and again, you'll see that gap that needs to be bridged. I'll also put a letter grade on your survey. Out of the 6,000 surveys I reviewed, I'm going to take surveys that are in similar industries to yours and just give you a general letter grade so you see how you benchmark against others. Also, at your option, I'll do something that's unique, something I've seen nowhere else. I call it the live survey critique. I'll take your survey in hand with a video camera, and I'll go through it line by line, through the response scales, through the items, through the instructions, through the confirmation page, and show you all those little things that need to be adjusted. Because that's all it usually is, right? It's just this item doesn't match this response scale, this wording is not quite right. I'll go through each of these so you can see. This is the closest thing to me being right there with your team, and it's so instructive to see this critique process in place. So I'll take the critique survey, I'll send it back, I'll send back my recommendations, the list, the grade, the criteria, and then you can immediately take that and make those changes necessary so now you're ready for launch. It's the last step. Don't skip that last step. But if you don't have time to even make the changes, I have a hands-free option. With your approval, I'll just take the recommendations and I will manually make those changes to your survey, to your evaluation form, send it back to you, and now it's ready to go out the door. I know this is the last step you need. I'm so confident of that. In fact, I'm so confident that I have a double guarantee. If I send back your survey, the recommendations, the list, the criteria, and you're not satisfied, you get your money back. I've never had anyone ask for their money back, but I just want you to know that there is no risk involved. And the double guarantee part is if you send me your survey and I look at it and I say, wow, this is a great survey. I mean, there's some things I would change around the edges, but it's a solid survey. If that's the case, I'll send your money back because you didn't need the service. Of course, you still get the validation. You thought it was a great survey, and by golly, it was. But if you didn't need the service, you get your money back. If you weren't satisfied with the service, you get your money back. So click the button below. Once you do that, it will ask for your name and an email address. It will pass you on to an information sheet that will tell a little bit more about this service. It will summarize what I've just said here. Once you go through the payment page, you'll receive a list. It will show you where to send your survey, what formats are best, what to include in the email. I'll share my personal email address so you can contact me and ask me questions. So click the button below to get started. Don't compromise. I can give you hundreds of examples of surveys that are getting 90% response rate, that people are writing paragraphs of comments. That's what could happen with a strong survey and an evaluation form. It's really our most powerful tool, but it has to satisfy the 30 criteria and the 9 principles to do so. Let me help you with that. Click the button below. I can't wait to see your survey. This is my passion. I know that's kind of a funny thing to say. You know, I'm passionate about critiquing surveys, but those of you that know me know this has been my mission, right? To look at every survey around the world and try to improve them one by one. So let's get going with yours.